Time for another well overdue update video. I actually made an update video about the race prior to this previous race, which was on August 2nd, and I recorded some stuff and then waited way too long to give it to Kelly to produce, and it became irrelevant after a certain point. But I may actually have her splice that into this video real quick just to get a kind of a lead in to what happened before this last race that we were in, because Alex's transmission was really hurt after the previous race, and I had to tear it completely apart and rebuild it. And we changed the setups on these things a little bit more, playing around with some new stuff. And I'll just have her splice that on real quick, and then we'll get back to this last race, which was the 16th. Update time on the last race that we were in, which was August 2nd, about a week ago now. I'm finally getting around to doing an update. We didn't expect a whole lot of cars there because that was the same weekend as the $100,000 race at Kokomo, the compact race. And we were aware that Cordell was going, and Landon tagged along. I think they took his car as a backup car, and I think a couple other guys went to support. And that turned out to be a pretty exciting race. Cordell actually finished fourth out of 200 cars, which is a hell of an accomplishment for a Cavalier in a stacked field of Hondas. So I congratulate him on that. That is definitely a feat right there. The Berg, we had 11 cars. Pretty light considering the car counts that we've had this year, but it was kind of expected. Because we only had 11 compacts, they ended up putting all 11 of us out for our qualifying and all 11 of us in the heat race. I'm pretty sure it was to save time and keep the evening moving, but that really sucked for me because when I don't have the room to be as reckless as I want my qualifier, it hurt my time pretty dramatically. I ended up putting in a terrible time. It was like 22nd lap or something. It was my fastest lap, was the first lap that they counted. That put me starting pretty far back in that heat race. I ended up finishing 9th because my car was just not handling very well out there. I had my wheels cut in every corner. It was pushing like a dump truck, and it was just crap. On the other hand, Alex won the heat race. He put it up on the high side, and he wheeled the hell out of it and came home with the victory in that. We were pretty proud of that. 2 cars went into the redraw, and it was just Kevin and Alex, and they basically flip-flopped. Alex started front row outside, and Kevin started on the inside. And Kevin got a great start, got into the lead, and then a couple laps later, Chevy Gibson came like a bat out of hell and passed Alex, and then ended up getting into the lead himself. He was putting it way up on the wall. Alex started falling back a little bit, and I know it's part of the setup because he wasn't able to stay in the throttle as deep as the other guys were in the corners, and we have some ideas on how to alleviate that for the next race. But Kevin raced real hard for the rest of that feature. It was really good racing there. Alex ended up finishing 4th. I did a little bit better in that feature. I did 9th in my heat. I finished 5th in the feature, mostly because we only had 6 cars that finished the feature. Everyone else had broken by that point. But anyway, after all that, got the cars home, and Alex's car at the end of the night, we had a hell of a time getting it on the trailer. It's just kicking the transmission out of first every time you let off the clutch, and it's making some pretty bad noises. And I think I showed it in one of my last videos, but this hose here that goes to the top of the trans fill cap down there is our catch can breather for the transmissions, because anyone that runs these manuals know that they puke trans fluid out. And Alex filled his catch can up twice completely during the night. It is slimy, covered in trans fluid. So something is happening in that transmission, cause all that fluid to puke out of there. I don't know if it's boiling it or what, but there's also something very, very wrong with first gear, and I think we figured second gear too. So now we got to pull the engine and trans out of this car, and I get to rebuild that trans. Mine stayed dry. Mine stayed dry ever since I put it in. And on the same note, my power steering cooler that I made out of the auto trans cooler in the radiator has been working great. This car hasn't puked any fluid out of the top. I say top because it's dripping out of the bottom now, and it's not much now. There's a couple little droplets down there, but pretty sure my rear main seal is leaking. It might be my slave cylinder, which would be super cool, but I'm pretty sure the fluid I'm feeling is oil. Probably going to ignore that one until the end of the year if I can, because it's not a big enough grip for me to care. But Alex's is a little more critical, so we're going to get to ripping that all apart. Got some axles. My car, after not this last race, but the race before, the right rear hub, I broke one of my bolts, and it took the flange that the bearing mounts to, and it bent it real bad. And as usual, waited till the last minute. In fact, it was last Saturday morning, I cleaned all the mud off of this car to go racing from the race prior to that, which was like a month before that. And loading it up, we realized, like, oh, God, I still haven't changed the rear end on this car yet. And come to find out that I didn't have any more left that weren't bent. So I am going to end up putting a rear end in this car. Now we've got 3. We had a couple delivered to our job in Westchester, and they look pretty decent. 2 of them are non-sway bar axles, and one of them has a sway bar in it. Yep, I'll put one of those axles in my car. That thing should be good enough for the next race. I have to rebuild Alex's transmission, figure out what's going on with first gear. That one will be good. And I think we have 2 races back to back, and then we'll have some time off. And hopefully during that time off period, I'll be able to finish building my other big motor, which I still haven't even figured out what car I was going to put this thing in. But now I'm thinking I might just give it to Alex. I'm not sure yet. But I just picked up a cylinder head for it. All the cylinder heads that I've run on all of our race cars have been hand ported, and like this one here. And I finally buckled down and bought a head from Category V. I got one of the CNC ported heads. Never ran one of those before, so super excited to try that out. We'll get that head on that block back there and get whatever car goes in, probably Alex's car, all down to the dyno and tuned. Hopefully make some pretty good numbers. Get one of these cars into winner's circle at least one time this year. This past weekend, we raced in the first annual Zack Bolton Memorial race. And they had a bike giveaway for all the kids that showed up. And we brought 2 bikes to donate for that. And they had a whole mess of bikes and scooters for all the kids. And it was a really, really good turnout for donations for that. Made a lot of kids happy. A lot of cars in the pits. I haven't seen the pits that full in quite a long time. We had, 6 classes there? And yeah, as I said, the pits were full. A lot of good racing. I think for the first time this season, the compacts were the smallest car count out of all the classes. We only had 14 cars. And that was a little bit surprising to me. But they had 26 pro mods there. It was a pretty good turnout for that. Very good support for this memorial. We had just enough compacts to divide us up into 2 qualifiers and 2 heat races. And as I'd mentioned a couple times already, we changed a few things up on our cars and went out for qualifying. And Alex and I ended up setting the fast 2 times in that. It's a lot of times when I go out for the hot laps / qualifying, and the track is kind of freshly wet, my car does really well. And I set a real nice fast time. And by the time we got around to the heat races for us, the track had really slicked off. And I could not get my car out of turn 4 to save my life. 1 and 2 was okay. Going into 3 was okay. Turn 4, my car pushed like a dump truck, and I would have to come completely off the throttle, just coast my way through every time. Otherwise, it pushed up the track. I had a pretty stacked heat race. I had Cordell, Landon, Preston, Natalie. I mean, it was a pretty good heat race. Aiden was behind me, and we all took off. And Preston got the high line in front of me, and I tried like hell to get past him, and I just could not do it. The high line was the place to be, and I would try and run the bottom line, and 3/4 of that track I could run next to him, and then I would get into turn 4 and literally have to come completely off the throttle. I wasn't going to pass him. I knew the bottom line wasn't going to work, and so I went to go throw my car up back onto the high line and drop in behind Preston and see if I could make a move in the last lap. And Natalie was there. I did not expect that. Her car is a lot faster than it's ever been before, I believe, and I ended up dooring the absolute crap out of her, and I felt terrible about that. I blasted her pretty good. Got her tire right in the side there. Kind of muddy, so it doesn't look as bad, but yeah, that was all my fault. Of course, her and Randy are really, really cool people, and Randy told me I should come and sign the donut I put in the side of her car. I ended up doing, I think, 5th in my heat race. Alex did pretty good in his heat race. Jesse was supposed to start on the pole of that heat with Austin King on the outside front, and then Chevy Gibson and Alex on the second row outside. And Jesse never made it out to the heat race. He's been having some problems with his cylinder head, I believe, and I think it's been plaguing his car for a couple of races now. So he never came out for the heat. So that put Chevy on the front row on the pole position, and he jumped out there and just led every lap of that. Austin King and Alex raced it hard for several laps. Alex barely squeaked out a second place finish in that and got into the redraw. And that was a really good race watching those guys in the heat there. That put Alex in the redraw, and he ended up drawing the pole position. He started front row inside, and Cordell started front row outside. And then it was Landon and I believe Chevy, and I started 9th because of my 5th place. When we went green, I turned and burned. So let me actually back up and mention something else that we discovered. I spent a lot of time getting Alex's car ready for this race. Obviously, we had to take the drivetrain out, rebuilt his whole transmission, put everything together, got it dialed back in. It's been several races since I've really paid a lot of attention to my car. I've been just putting gas in it and cleaning it. And coming to find out, all of my tires were very, very low. My front right tire there had, I think we found like 15 pounds in it. That was way too low. Even with a bead lock, it was crap. I was driving on the sidewall. So did some actual maintenance to the car, adjusted all the tire pressures. I checked my toe again after dooring the crap out of Natalie and went out into the feature. Alex hit the start line and I turned and burned, and I floored it and passed, I think, 4 cars right off the rip. Jumped into 5th place and held it for the rest of that feature. And it was my only chance to gain any spots because I have a hard time passing guys once they're up in the good line to run. And my car is kind of a one-trick pony. It's just a whole bunch of power for good straight line action. So I used that to my advantage, got up there in the fifth, and basically occupied the whole track so that Preston couldn't pass me. Not willingly, the car is kind of a handful at times. Alex got up in a second place and held it for nearly every single lap of that feature. We went green to checkers, no yellow flags that whole entire feature race. And there was a battle behind Alex. It was Chevy and Landon, and King was back there briefly, but I think something happened to his car because I think he went into the infield. And those two were battling it out behind Alex, right on his bumper. And white flag lap, Alex went into two a little bit high, and Landon dive bombed him on the inside, and then basically just drove straight into the side of Alex's car. They went down the backstretch, caught up to a lap car. Alex pitched it into three. Landon threw it on the bottom side and then blasted Alex in the left front wheel. And exactly like he did when he took me out of the race that I was leading, it sheared the valve stem off and flattened his tire. That's the donut mark from when he hit him coming out of two. Alex ended up getting shoved up into the blue Honda, the lap car, and transferred quite a bit of paint. We even had some blue on this rear tire, I think. Yeah. Even with a flat tire and being pinned against that other car, Alex still drag raced him to that line. Knocked him from second to fourth. Really disappointing for him because he had a hell of a run going there. Had absolutely nothing for Cordell because he just completely checked out. But second place finish still would have been pretty cool. So pretty disappointing that happened. Landon had said that Alex turned into him coming out of two, and Alex did go a little bit higher, leaving two on that lap, and the car definitely grabbed a little bit and hooked. But you look at Alex's in-car video, he was fully to the right when Landon came upside of him and just drove straight into his door. So I'm not letting that excuse fly. After all that, Alex is actually second in points right now. It's pretty cool. It is a tight points race for the top, I don't know, like 5 to 8 cars in the point standings right now. I mean, this could be anyone's season still. I know if Cordell's on a tear and his car stays together, it's going to be easy for him because he's still one feature win away from basically being back in first again. But Chevy Gibson is on a tear as well. I mean, at last race before this one that we were just in, when he was putting it up on the wall like that was crazy. Like, none of us expected him to just come out of nowhere and take that win, but we've got some work to do in these cars. Aside from the flat tire on Alex's car, you can see this tire turned straight right now. And this tire is way the hell towed out. So there's a guarantee that we've got a bent inner tie rod there, probably a strut. And valve stem, and I'm sure that tire's junk from Alex finishing out the race on it. Nice cave in there. My car's just got some character that I am not likely to do anything about. Still haven't changed the bent rear end in that car, and I probably won't. I'll just finish out the season on, hopefully, on all the stuff that's in that car currently, and then work on building something nicer for next season. The next race, which is this coming Saturday here, is an SCDRA race. And they're not making it a points race for us, which I'm kind of grateful for because those cars are bad fast, and I'm not sure just how well we're going to stack up against them. Even though we have the home track advantage, and some of us know that track pretty well, it's hard to compete with some of them. I always say 300 horsepower Hondas. Not all of them are, but I'd say 250 plus on at least half the cars will be out there. So it'll be some good racing. And as we all know, horsepower doesn't win races. So we'll see what happens out there. Get these cars cleaned up, get Alex's car torn down, throw a couple parts at it. We should be ready to rock and roll for next week. Figured I'll mention as well, Lexi Parrott, Ted's daughter, completed her first feature race in the car that we built her. She's been racing out at Moeller, and they've been getting some bugs dialed in on that car, and she's been learning it. And she had a couple issues earlier in the night at Lawrenceburg. It was her first time racing there, and got out to that feature and raced every single lap. And the only car to pass her was Cordell at the end of that race, which I think is a hell of an accomplishment to be able to stay on the lead lap for an entire feature for your first time out in a feature. So congratulations to Lexi on that. We got to get Aiden Carson a good tune-up on his car. The car sounds good, but I can definitely tell he's got some misfires or some problems going on with that thing. I know he can be a lot quicker than what that car is doing right now with just a few basic mods. I have to get that thing over here sometime and help him out with it. But yeah, get these things fixed up. Get to this SCDR race on Saturday. See you guys in the next one.